Well, tonight our persons of the week are two men from Detroit who are changing lives. Isaac Nzoma and D'Angelo Moore had their fill of bad stories about black men or seeing bad images on television. So they joined forces to make a difference, starting with a game of basketball. For two young men who are all too familiar with the hardships of growing up in the hood, the basketball court was a place of refuge and a proving ground. It could take your mind away from the dangers lurking in your own neighborhood.
Across the street was a house where everyone in the neighborhood went to drink, smoke, deal drugs, and my grandmother always told me, don't move off this porch.
That lesson would not sink in completely until years later. D'Angelo Moore considers himself a statistic, growing up like many black men in Detroit, a mistake away from death or prison.
My father was in prison when I was 6. So my mother raised me. My mother and grandmother raised me.
His running buddy, Isaac Nzoma, grew up on the same block of Plainview Street. His parents are from Kenya, but Isaac was born here.
I was fortunate to have both my parents with me, and saw a lot of structure in my household.
Same neighborhood, different home life, but they both had run-ins with the law. So together, they decided they had to make a change.
I always wanted something different.
I wasn't satisfied with where my life was. I knew I had a much more powerful purpose.
Both are now college graduates, and Isaac graduated from law school in December. They concluded instead of watching black men foul out on life, they would intervene by extending a hand instead of retreating in fear.
There's a group of young men out here. Why do I feel fearful? Why do I feel like I don't want to go to this gas station? And so I had to start challenging myself. There's got to be a way that we reach out to them.
They didn't have to reach very far. They started right down the street in their own childhood neighborhood at Corpus Christi Catholic Church with Father Don Archambault. They wanted to start a basketball league, but that had failed years before.
The problem was, after about 6 months, somebody started selling drugs outside, and we had to close it down. So we said, well, what do we want to do? We talked a couple of weeks, and so we have an hour of basketball, an hour of reflection about anything in the world the guys are dealing with, and then another hour of basketball.
Isaac and D'Angelo thought that would be a slam dunk. So Better Men Outreach, BMO for short, was born. The first hour of b-ball sweats off all that negative energy. The second hour is all about reflection in a circle where they can all talk openly.
All the pain, all the anger, they can speak about it because there's nowhere else they can speak about it.
You have a room of 40 young men who are vulnerable, who are open, and able to just share exactly what's on their mind.
So 7 years ago, you started with how many guys? Right here at Corpus, with 8?
We didn't have enough to play 5-on-5.
It grew to 4,000 members.
That means countless men walk through these doors to play basketball, but end up with so much more. From counseling, resources for education, employment leads.
We've had psychiatrists come in and talk to us about mental health. We've had physicians, we've had ex-drug dealers, and now businessmen. So we've had judges come from behind the bench and sit with us in our circle.
Without BMO, Martell Jackson would be lost.
BMO is actually therapy, because I didn't went in BMO and went to reflection and had crime moments where my best friend been murdered, and it's the only time I can express myself.
For Isaac and D'Angelo, BMO grew out of hard lessons they learned growing up in Detroit, and now hope to pass on to another generation.
It's a need to tell men that, hey, it's not okay to sit at home and smoke weed and drink all day. What's all right is you to get up, pick your boots up, pick your pants up, and pick yourself up and better yourself and become a better man.
And boy, they are making better men in the city of Detroit. After 7 years, BMO is now a 501c3 nonprofit. It has grown from one location at Corpus Christi Catholic Church to 3 other churches, Jesu, St. Cecilia, and Hope United Methodist Church. BMO is also offering a training program for some to become licensed iron workers. Amazing work being done by young men in our community, for our community. They are making such a difference. My heart was just melting hearing their story.
Well, tearing up right now, because this is what can happen when you care enough.
When you care enough to make a difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.